everyone. Whether I'm consuming content or creating content, whether I'm podcasting, screenwriting, or just getting to know someone, I was born with this piercing curiosity to learn how a person or a thing or a condition managed to get from one point to another. And the greater the contrast point A was from point B, the more I wanted to learn about how that change manifested, especially if it was an underdog story or an unlikely transformation. I innately had to dig in and discover what the defining factor was that caused this person to overcome their circumstances to achieve greatness. I've been mentally collecting stories from everywhere, from the Bible to present-day living people who've bravely shared their life stories. And I've noticed multiple characteristics and patterns that define how triumphant people are able to overcome their meager circumstances and accomplish such great success. And even more than the people who make it, I've witnessed what it was that stood in the way of people who gave up on their destiny, because the people who make it do the opposite of the people who don't. And again, while there's more than just one quality in these particular types of triumphant people who make it from poverty to prosperity, in today's message, I want to focus on this one particular characteristic, and that's how well they disregard failure. I've spoken to many people over the years who tried to quit smoking, drugs, or alcohol, for example, which I believe can be harder than building an empire. And when I've spoken to people who managed to quit smoking and drinking and even hard drug use, the first time one quit, for example, they managed to stay off for 2 days. But then something happened and they had a cigarette and a drink. But those 2 days felt really good, and they remember that. Then the second time they tried, they managed to quit for 2 whole weeks. But then something happened which was more upsetting than the first relapse, and they started drinking and smoking again. But they were impressed by their new record of sobriety that they just set. Then the third time they quit, they managed to stay off for 2 whole years, and they built a mental and emotional muscle. So it took something more and more upsetting to cause them to revert back to drugs and alcohol each time. But every stumble was still a marker of how much stronger they were getting, how much longer they were managing to stay off drugs and alcohol, and learning to lean on healthier coping mechanisms, until they never reverted back to drugs or alcohol use ever again. But the big mindset shift was that they didn't look at each time they stumbled as this big deal that negated all the progress they'd ever made up until that point. Their progress still counted to them, and they would still build off that when they would get back on track and try again. They were still able to build off of the stamina they built, the endurance they developed, the muscle memory they'd acquired. They still had that, and that muscle memory is not discounted by failure. A rider that falls off the horse does not forget how to ride, just so long as they get back on and saddle up. All your progress still counts. And of the thousands of interviews I've seen online of people in all industries, from sports to finance to entertainment, they didn't always make the team. They didn't always make a profit. They've had poor ratings and poor ticket sales. Their journey has had ups and downs and roller coasters. But if they had the heart and desire to try even once, they would try again. Not because they got positive reinforcement, but because they had the heart, the innate desire to keep going for it. And your progress may not even be measurable to someone else. You could be trying to shoot the ball and miss the shot every time, but you notice that you're getting faster. You notice that you're not running out of breath as easily as you did the first time. You notice that you're wearing your opponent out and down more and more. You notice that you're getting closer and closer to the hoop every day, every time. And you're tracking your progress. That's the mindset of triumphant people. That's what the minds of triumphant people do on their way to success. They don't focus on the fact that they missed the shot and quit altogether. They know they're going to keep getting stronger. Triumphant people look at the most important side of the journey. You're not failing. You're making progress. At one point, you weren't trying at all, which means you weren't getting anywhere. And now you're getting closer. You have to know how to look at the situation in a way that you can build from it. Because failure is a necessary part of success, and too many of us are allowing failure to stop us when it is only meant to strengthen us. I hope you all take this message to heart in pursuing whatever it is God put in your heart to go after, and don't be discouraged by failure. If you find my channel helpful, I hope you'll subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a message. I post daily, so I'll be back soon with a new message. In the meantime, keep your heads up, family. Stay prayed up because God wants to hear from you. I love you all, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.